Welcome back to the Voting Vlogs. First off, Merry Christmas to those that celebrate it and to those that don't, Happy Holidays. We're following up with part 2 of this tournament series here at TCH Westheimer. It's a 100K guarantee for $400 buy-in. We're in for 2 bullets and the prize will ends up hitting 144K. We're 236,000 hand for hand on the bubble. 55th place locks up $590. And we end up being in the money when another table has Ace Queen versus Ace Jack for 2.5 big blinds. Ace Jack covering the Ace Queen player and they hit a Jack. So we're in the money, locking up $590, but obviously we're in for 2 bullets, so we need to go a lot deeper than that to make some money. In this first hand that we look down at for the vlog, we have King Queen offsuit in the +1, sitting on a 251K stack at 366. Under the gun opens for 16K. We go ahead and make the call, and the big blind calls as well. 3 players to flop now, which comes Jack, 9, 8, 2 diamonds in the club. We do have 1 diamond as well as a gutter ball to the king high straight. It just checks through though. We're not trying to blow up any equity here, trying to catch something. Turn is a 3 of spades. Big blind jams for 30K all in. The under the gun calls, obviously we're going to have to fold here given that we just have 2 overs and drawing to the gutter ball. Big blind has 9-3 offsuit for 2 pair. And the under the gun has aces. So the river bricks and the 9-3 offsuit wins. So you can tell that this person in the big blind is very willing to call and see flops. This isn't something you should be doing late into the tournament at this point unless you're really just feeling frisky and want to get some chips with the money locked up. But you really shouldn't be calling light even if it is a 2x open. So blinds are 4, 8, 8. We have a 215K stack. There goes a full level where we don't play a hand. It goes up to 5, 10, 10. We have a 190K stack. And the guy from our previous vlog, who's a very heavy limp folder, he's the same guy who played this 9-3 offsuit, just trying to call to see flops. He ends up limping in the +2. We make it 30K with pocket 4s, and it folds back to him, who rips 45K. And I call, obviously, for 4.5 bigs. And he has Jack 10 offsuit, and here's a run out. So as you can see from the run out, we obviously lose this run out against Jack 10 offsuit. So we're down to 145K. We look down at Ace 9 of spades in the +1. We open for 23K. Only the big blind calls. Heads up to flop, which comes Queen 8, 4, 2 spades in a club. We're perfectly fine putting money in this pot, given that we flopped the flush draw, the nut flush draw to be exact. The big blind checks, we bet 25K, and the big blind folds. Super impactful, stealing as many chips as we can in these spots. Even if we do have a lot of equity, we're also completely fine taking it down here with ace high and move on to the next spot with a lot more big blinds. After the blinds pass us for another orbit, we look down at ace 8 of hearts under the gun, sitting on 158,000. We open for 20K, the small blind and big blind call. We end up checking it through on a 10 queen 6, turn 4, river 6 board, and we chop with the big blind, who has ace 3, and the small blind had king 7. So obviously, I think the big blind defend is fine. The small blind defend is a bit loose, but it is what it is. You're still going to find a lot of leaks in some of these players, even though it's this late into the tournament. And a lot of the better players don't really solidify themselves until probably the last 2-3 tables. Move to new table, blind 6, 12, 12K. We're sitting on 173K at this new table. 35 players out of the 433 left to start the day. Ace 7 of diamonds in the big blind. And it falls to the button, who makes it 80K, which is a huge sizing. We obviously had to fold, and he ends up showing ace king offsuit after we say, I'm going to respect you. I don't know how you play. Just going to fold this ace 7 of diamonds to you, and we get the information that we need. He's opening just huge with these hands where he just doesn't want to see a flop, apparently. So bear with me for this black screen. No spoilers. Aces on the button. We open to 25K. Small blind makes it 50K, min clicking. We go ahead and jam for 142K, and the small blind calls. We're up against ace 5 of diamonds, and here's the run out. So clearly on this board, it's a double up against ace 5 of diamonds, and we're up to 309K. It's a much needed double up given the blinds are going up so fast, so quickly, and we're going to need as many big blinds as we can to make a deep run here. Moving up in the world with all these chips, we look down at the ladies, pocket queens and the hijack, starting to run pretty good. +2 limps, we go ahead and pop it up to 30K, only the +2 calls. Flop is Jack 9, 5, 2 spades and a diamond. We don't have a spade in our hand, but we have those overs. So when the +2 checks, this is easy down bet to 25K, and the +2 folds. So even though we don't get a big pot here, we're more than content taking as many chips as we can in these spots uncontested and not facing a bad beat. So bear with me once again, gonna black screen as I talk about this next one. Immediate next hand, ace, queen of clubs, and the low jack. We open for 25K. The hijack jams for 30K. Obviously, we're gonna make the call here, and here's the hand and the run out. So some more chips coming our way, 376K stack, and we look down at aces once again. Under the gun, this new table is just pure run good for us. We open for 25K, the button calls, and the blinds fold. Heads up to flop, which comes 886 rainbow. Obviously, we're going to make a c-bet here again. Going 25K, and the button folds. We have 435,000 coming back to 10, 15, 15K. We look down at pocket 10s and the low jack. We open for 30K. The cutoff goes all in for 245,000. The small blind then goes all in for 285,000. We're just going to have to make the fold here. The cutoff has queen, jack of hearts, and the small blind has pocket jack. So at least we made the good fold there. Here's the run out. 27 players left, which means we're redrawing for the last 3 tables. $1,000 locked up, which means we're in the profit by $200, given that we're in for 2 bullets. We look down at ace 4 of hearts, under the gun on this new table, open for 35K, only the cutoff and small blind call. 3 players to flop, which comes king, 4, deuce, rainbow. We do have backdoor hearts to the nut flush draw as well as second pair. So when the small blind checks, we're going to c-bet here for 45K. The cutoff folds and the small blind calls. Turn is the bink, 4 of clubs. So we have trips now. I definitely think I get a little bit overexcited, thinking I can get value from king, queen, king, jack, those types of hands. So when the small blind checks, I jammed about 250K, which is covering the small blind. So it's about a pot size jam. Definitely think I got overzealous and over eager here. I think I can just bet 70K to 90K on this turn and then set myself up for a river jam. But I definitely just got too eager, and the small blind does in fact fold. So definitely losing value there, but we learn from these mistakes, especially having it on video, which is always nice. Go back in these spots, learn from them, learn better sizings, and try to maximize our value in these spots. Still, chips are chips, so we're up to 520K stack now. Looking down at king, queen of diamonds in the small blind. The +1 limps, low jack makes it 45K. We make the call, and the +1 calls as well. 3 players to flop, which comes ace, king, 7, 2 hearts, and a spade. We go ahead and check it with our second pair. The +1 checks, and the low jack now bets 70K with only 100K behind. We can't really call here because if we call here, we have to expect to call 100K on the turn. And the low jack's just going to have a lot of ace X within his range, given that he was a pre-flop aggressor. If the +1 was to bet the 70K, it might be a bit different. Even then, we're not the happiest in this spot, and chips are super value this late in the tournament, so we're going to have to fold and find a better spot. In the cutoff with ace-10 offsuit, I open for 30K, small blind folds, and the big blind calls. Heads up to flop, which comes queen, 9, 6, rainbow. Don't really have too much here, so when the big blind checks us, we just check back. Turns a jack of diamonds, giving us open-ended. The big blind checks, and I could bet here, but I just don't want to barrel into my open-ended equity and just face a raise from this chip leader, or he could have a lot on this type of board or board texture, and he could just defend wide or even make a move, so I like to just check back. River's the 9 of clubs, and the big blind checks once again, and I could obviously barrel here because there should be nothing of value where he checks 3 streets unless he's really just trap heavy. But I like to just check back just to see what he defended his big blind with, and he has 6, 7 of spades. 2 orbits go by with no real playable hands until we finally look down on the button, sitting on our 405K stack at pocket jacks. The +1 opens for 30K, starting the hand with about 200,000. I debated on 3-betting, but I'd like to just jam here given that there's no real sizing I like with an SPR on the flop, so I could be wrong, but I just jam here. The big blind tank folds, and then the +1 also folds, so even though we don't get action, we're more than content taking down all the dead money. Blinds go up at 10, 20, 20K. We bleed for a few orbits where we just don't get any playable hands. We end up having 375K coming into the big blind, looking down at 10, 5 of diamonds. The +1 opens to 40K, and it folds to us. I decide if I defend and I miss this hand, and in the small blind next hand, I'll still have 15 big blinds. So I like to defend here for the 2 big blinds, and we'll still have 15 big blinds left if I miss or have to fold post-flop. Flop heads up is ace, king, deuce, so no help to us. And then on the king turn, he ends up betting 40K, and we just have to fold here. But we knew that going into this hand that we'd be sitting super short, and we're more than happy navigating a 15 big blind stack moving forward. The blinds end up going up to 15, 30, 30K, and we have 395K. We look down at ace king offsuit under the gun. This is an easy jam for us, 12 big blinds, and all players fold. In the immediate next hand, we look down at pocket tens in the big blind. The plus one opens for 60K. We go ahead and jam all in, and the plus one ends up tank folding pocket sixes. So a lot of these spots we're just stealing as much as possible. It's huge, and it goes a long way in the long run, just allowing us to survive another orbit of hands. So a few orbits go by. We have 365K, 18 players left, blinds 20, 40, 40,000. We look down at ace three of hearts, and we have to jam our 9 big blinds here. And the big blind tanks, king jack of diamonds, ends up folding. We're more than happy taking that flip if he were to call us off. A few more spots go by, 16 players left, 365K into another orbit, 8-handed. And then we look down at ace four of diamonds on the button when it folds to us. And this is a very standard 9 big blind jam, given that there's only 2 more players that have to go through. The small blind folds, and the big blind unfortunately wakes up with pocket kings. Here's the run out.
Yeah, leaving TCH Westheimer, which means we busted, as you can tell. We had ace four of diamonds, very standard 9 big blinds, button folds us on the button. We're 8-handed. We rip it, just had a pay jump, so very standard spot, button, 9 bigs, ace four diamonds, rip. They should be only calling with basically anything like 10s or better for the most part. Maybe 7s or better, because the guy in the big line was a chip stack, but even then, 365K is a huge hit to anyone's stack, given that everyone's 20 big blinds or less. So very standard rip, small blind folds, big blind wakes up with kings obviously, and holds, even though we had a flush draw on the flop. So unlucky. Good run obviously, because we were short a few times and we were able to spin it up. So in for 2 bullets, which was $800, and out for 2080 after a pay jump, which is huge ICM ladder implications and everything. So very happy and satisfied. Wish we could have obviously shipped it. 29K up top is very juicy, but it is what it is. That's how poker goes. We played our best. We definitely made some mistakes, leaks here and there, bluffs where we didn't have to bluff, and loose calls where we didn't have to make loose calls. But all in all, a good day. Plus 1280 on the day for, I think it was like a 10-hour session or something. So pretty good hourly for that. If you guys made it this far, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It helps the channel a lot, and means a lot that you guys support. See you guys in the next one. Peace.